You have been taught that fear is a negative thing, something that hinders you from living life to the fullest. In some cases, this can be true, especially when it comes to irrational fears. But is this always true? Evolutionary science tells us that fear is evolution's way of steering a species. Through fear, each creature learns to avoid what is harmful to it. Ultimately, fear of death is what keeps us alive for so long. Is this true? Or were we right in the first place? Could the only thing we have to fear be fear itself? Picking things up right where issue 1 left off, because that's how comics work. The general is face to face with Black Blossom, who is confused on what's going on. The general tries to calm her down and reason with her, but Michi is in full defense mode and doesn't want to hear any of it, especially with the fact that they use a shock trap to render her unconscious just to be able to talk to her in the first place, forming blades from her suit and ready to attack anyone. But the general tries to assure her that they just want to talk, until one of the soldiers goes against the general's orders and shoots her right in the chest, rightfully sending Michi into full rampage mode, taking out a ton of the soldiers as she tries to find a way out of the facility. But she quickly realizes that it's much bigger than she thought. The general eventually tracks her down and commanding everyone to stand down, and whoever fires at her again will be ejected from the airship. He once again tries to have the civil leader of a secret government organization trying to recruit a superhuman conversation with her. And it goes quite successfully as she agrees to help their cause, especially since there might be someone else out there with similar powers giving off the same energy signatures they get from her, who might not be a good guy. The organization's name is also Crossbow. What does that stand for? Well, nothing, as it isn't an acronym at all. That is a really funny piece of dialogue. Once she agrees to help them out, the general debriefs her on the energy signature they picked up in Wyoming. Surveying the area and using the night vision and x-ray vision she gets from a suit, she spots something that sends her into full panic mode: a lizard. But not just a lizard, a humanoid lizard, which receives a full energy blast from Michi as she hates lizards. Obliging to the general's request, she ensured to leave it alive and flew off, telling them call her again when it's in a cage. Taking a break at the top of a plateau, she receives a call from her dad, who she actually had a date with, but due to the unforeseen sequence of events, she's sort of no longer in Hawaii but in Wyoming. Knowing she can't really tell her dad all that transpired, she apologizes for not being there and tells him something important came up with a new friend. Is this new friend a boy? That dad is asking the right questions. But he does trust the daughter that he raised and her judgment, and tells her, I hope this new friend of yours knows how fortunate they are to have you. As she hangs up with her dad, Dalton radios in, asking if she's planning on returning to them at the airship anytime soon, as they have a giant lizard and a lot of questions. Asking herself, Michi, what have you gotten yourself into? She takes one last moment to herself before flying off. Elsewhere, an armored soldier approaches a mysterious man with an interesting report, informing him that they have new intel on the possible location of the next breach, and the man is delighted by the info, stating they need to be there to greet their new friend, whatever that means. But the soldier also informs him on the events that just took place in Wyoming, calling it the previous breach, also describing it as bad news. It appears it, which I believe was the humanoid lizard thingy, was drawn out by the Black Blossom and an unknown aircraft. We were unable to prevent them from acquiring the specimen. But the man doesn't really see that as bad news, but a favorable outcome, as she may inadvertently save them a great deal of time and energy. The soldier states he doesn't understand, and the man now standing up in the light, revealing his silver faceless face. Yeah, that makes sense. Ends this issue saying, all in good time, everything will be explained, the ascension draws near. So that's Black Blossom issue 2, and without sticking, let's immediately put it on our Christian fiction judgment scale. But just as I did with issue 1, we'll be taking out our signature theological basis category, since there wasn't really any Christian theme to assess. Though it was written by Evan David, who is a professing believer, I don't think the Black Blossom series gets theological until issue 6, when she comes face to face with the cherubim. So starting with the story, I loved this issue. It's a 5 out of 5 for me personally. Issue 1 was just a classic first issue to a superhero comic book series that hit all the typical checkboxes. It's the best way to put it, really. But this issue, especially the panel-to-panel dialogue, was a lot of fun to read through, and it was quite amazing in my opinion. And just the way the comic flowed, I really liked how it dove deeper into the lore of the series without leaving confusion, but intrigue. I know it feels like I hand out 5 out of 5s a lot for what some may say are simple things, but sometimes it's simple things that get overlooked in my opinion that mess up a lot of comics, at least the ones we have covered on this channel, where they're just trying to do too much in one issue that it leaves you so confused in the end that you have to reread it. And even in reading it, you're still confused and even more confused because you gave it time to process. I'm not really looking for much or anything revolutionary really with these reviews. Just as my qualitative methods 2 university lecturer told us, he's not stingy on the A+, which your boy did secure and save his GPA to graduate with a distinction in my associates. Once it hits all the nails on the head for me personally, it's a 5 out of 5 when it comes to panel flow, which is something I touched on in detail in our Biblical Proportions number 1 and Red Redemption number 1 reviews. Dialogue, intrigue, and most importantly is entertaining all the way through. It's simply a 5 out of 5. When it comes to artwork and creativity, I'll give it a 3.5 according to our channel's art scale, just like the last issue. I'm trying my best to have a sort of objective art scale, like an actual unit of measurement when comparing comic series to other comic series, where this is a 5 out of 5 and this is a 3. I'll forego our art scale and look entirely at creativity if the concept is something that I have never come across before and was executed perfectly in my opinion, like the Christian multiverse of Biblical Proportions or the raid on the Vatican to save John the Apostle from the remnant number 0 that has people in the comment section of that video upset. Now that is hitting the algorithm. And for me, Black Blossom really isn't anything revolutionary, which isn't a bad thing. It's just a classic young adult fun superhero comic book. And that's, like, for me personally, it hits all the marks in that category. So for the final category of my enjoyment and recommendation is a 5 out of 5. This comic is definitely in my top 10 list of the comics I have covered on this channel thus far, because it's just a fun and enjoyable read from beginning to end. I can't wait to know more about the silver faceless face man. Yes, I am going with that. So overall, Black Blossom issue 2 gets a 4.5 out of 5 from the Xplanations. Link to purchase the comic will be in the description below, as my reviews and my opinion will honestly never do the story justice. If you enjoyed the video, then why not consider leaving a like on it and subscribing for more reviews and coverage of comics made by professing believers. If you enjoyed the video to the point you want to check out another one of our videos on the channel, then be sure to click the card at the top right hand corner of your screen to check out our other Black Blossom reviews, or click the end card to check out our review of my favorite Christian superhero couple taking down an Antichrist AI facility on a remote island, written by the same author of this comic, Evan David, in Parables of the Remnant issue 4.